Hello, welcome to Skye's Sweaty Record Review 28, let's call it. The only new music review show hosted by a French professor who just got off of an elliptical at the YMCA. Whew, had a good workout, and this morning I feel a little bit down. I'm a little bit sad, and I was a little bit sad last night too. So when I was looking for new music and I found a band called It Looks Sad, I thought, okay. And then the name of the album was Skye Lake. Not spelled like my name, but spelled S-K-Y. But still, that kind of, I imagine myself crying tears into a lake or something. I'm not that sad. But anyways, I sort of said, why not? and I gave it a shot. This is an interesting journey. I'm going to do that thing where I sort of take you through the album. And I hate to say it, but it sort of like started off really high and really excited. And then by the end, I was kind of frustrated and sort of wished that it could have maintained the excitement I felt at the beginning. In a funny way, I think you could even compare It Looks Sad to the last band I reviewed, Imagine Dragons. Now, hear me out here. They're very different, okay? I mean, one's a arena rock super band from Las Vegas with million producers and they make millions of dollars. The other is a band that I'd never heard of from apparently Charlotte, North Carolina, which, hey, congratulations if you can make art coming from Charlotte. But in a way they're similar because in both cases I found myself trying to figure out, is there a genre here? Is there not? Are there multiple genres? And is the record better or worse for this kind of genre-lessness? And also, all the songs are one word, which, again, I think is a warning symbol. Okay, so this is what happened, okay? I started listening to the first track. It's called Shave, and that gets the Skye stamp. Great track. That's going on my playlist of some of the best tracks I've heard in my experiment of having this YouTube channel. It's got kind of this jangling guitar, almost like The Cure. It has a drum machine all throughout. The funny thing was my my title was on repeat. I don't know why, it always just goes on repeat. So I accidentally listened to the song like 4 times in a row, and I didn't even notice. It was so enjoyable. I don't know if it's intentional, but it reminds me a lot of vaporwave music, which I think I even discussed on the last episode. So, that's where people take like cheesy music from the 80s and they slow it down, and then somehow it becomes psychedelic and listenable. I don't know how it happens. But this first track, Shave, feels like someone trying to recreate that atmosphere with the 80s guitar and kind of slow drum machine, and I loved it. Interestingly, he uses a vocoder, which I thought was not necessary because the guy can sing, but it added to this unreal feel to the track. The lyrics were all about shaving your head and starting again. That's another similarity with Imagine Dragons. I'm not exactly sure what this album is about. It seems mostly kind of, navel-gazy. But this is, about starting over. And there's a couple other tracks that are about things, I think. So this starts me off great. And I think you should listen to that track, Shave, by It Looks Sad. Give it a shot, especially if you like that kind of otherworldly 80s sound. And then the next track is called Bike. And it's following along, like the guitar's more peppy. This time there's real drums. There's no vocoder, but the singer's singing. And it's kind of this charming 80s style pop song. So already we sort of have 2 different genres here. This kind of like indie, pop-ish 80s band and this kind of weird techno vaporwavy thing. And then as the album goes on and on, it starts to get noisier and noisier. And not like Sonic Youth noisy, and not like, I don't know, whatever, the Stooges. I mean, it doesn't get like punky or anything. And it doesn't actually go all the way to noise rock. It sort of stays there in the middle. And that's my big complaint with a lot of this album, is it sort of stays in the middle. There's a lot of mid-range. The singer kind of sings in the mid-range, and the guitars kind of stay in the mid-range, and the bass isn't very heavy. So it ends up becoming more or less kind of like shoegaze music. Kind of like, whatever, My Bloody Valentine, although not as engaging. For the most part, that new third style, that sort of third genre, comes in and dominates the rest of it. And it's not bad. It's just not what I was hoping for after the first track. In some ways, you could see a parallel, because in both cases, it's this kind of languorous, extended, downbeat music that helps you achieve kind of a dreamy feeling. So, well, that sounds pretty good. So, hey, if you want to listen to music that sounds languorous and dreamy and makes you feel a little bit distant from yourself, then this album is very consistent all the way through. But I found myself getting a little bit frustrated. Like later on in the album, there's songs like Drool, where it comes together, it's a little bit more achieved, but still like you can't hear the lyrics and the guitars are so jangly. Another song like that is later on in the album, Visor. There's a lot of it. Most of it's actually like this style. Kind of clangy guitars, distant vocals. I found myself liking the album the most when I could hear the vocals. As an example, there's a track, Faded, which I think that's the 5th track, I think. And that's maybe the best example of the shoegazy style. There's lots of good elements in here. And this is the real point where the album takes that turn into the shoegazeness. So if you don't know about shoegaze, that was like a genre in the 90s, I guess, where musicians would make kind of downbeat music with very like loud guitars and like interesting hooks in the background. And it wasn't really pop, but it still somehow was very listenable. So this song, Faded, I'd say is the best example of that. The lyrics are kind of interesting. They're very personal. Like the guy's name is Jimmy. And in the lyrics he says, "Jimmy, are you okay?" Not like Smooth Criminal. I made it sound that way. So that's what I would say. I would say give a shot. I would say listen to Shave, listen to Bike, and listen to Faded. And if you like Faded more than the rest, then you're going to love this entire album because it's more in that area. It seems to me that there's 2 guys, Ruiz and Taylor, and it seems that whenever Taylor is working by himself, it's all drum machine, and he probably just makes it on a Mac by himself, if I had to guess. And that's what the first track is. And that's this sort of promising, super, almost like emo-y, like personal headphone music. And then there's this indie rock side, which he makes with the other guy, Ruiz. So, there you go. I would say, ultimately, it is unified. But the way that it's unified is a little bit boring to my taste, if that makes sense. So I think if your taste is into shoegazy, kind of drony music, this is good for you. But if what you wanted was what you heard in the first track, which is what I wanted, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. If I had to give my patented 3-word review, I would say half shoegaze, quarter indie rock, quarter vapor. And mostly good. I'm happy I listened to it. I don't know if I'll listen to it again, though. Okay, and as far as things that I saw on the news channels, I saw 2 different commercials on 2 different TVs next to each other. And so I'll just read them TV to TV. New way to protect you. Man up, America. So maybe we'll be protected by manning up. Probably not. Oh, speaking of man, I guess my trivia will be, what kind of gun do I have? Squirt gun. Oh, I need to close my cupboard. Yeah, you're gonna think I live in a pigsty, which I don't. Entirely.